Hey, welcome, welcome. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to our live stream, our 3-day event. We've got some exciting stuff going on today, but if you're here for the 3-day event, learning EFT, you're in the right place. Many of us are on this journey of, seeking balance. We're looking for alignment with body, breath, and spirit, and we're looking for something that brings us inside, and EFT is a wonderful way to do this. So if you're coming on in, come on in. Let me know that you're here. Let me just make sure I can see the comments. Welcome, welcome. And I'm just going to tell you real quick about me and who I am. My name is Denny Van, and I am a spirit, body, breath, mind coach, and I guide you to reconnect, rediscover, realize the larger part of you. And that comes out to be an acronym of Sabbam Guru. And I thought it was hilarious when Spirit said, just write out what it is you do. That's what it came about too. But what we are about here is aligning body, breath, and spirit. And we do this through so many ways. And one way that we do this is through EFT. I was diagnosed with a very fast-spreading form of cancer in 2001. And, when a doctor gives you a 50-50 chance, stage 4 cancer of living, the tendency is to go down the path of, oh my God, I'm going to die. I have 50% chance of dying. Well, when you're in that situation, you're going to look for things to increase your chances of the living part. And so I ran into Dr. Mercola, and he became my doctor, and he provided trainings for practitioners from all over the world and taught them his version of EFT. Now, there's a lot of information out there on what EFT is, and EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and I actually have a visual for you. Hey, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad so many people are coming on in. Come on in. I'm going to transition to a slide here so you can have a look here what EFT is. It stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and when I was going through, the diagnosis of cancer, and looking for something to bring back that balance, EFT was probably one of the main things that really helped me get through this time, and it still helps me get through this time. EFT is also called tapping, and what EFT does is you use a tapping motion on the acupuncture points or meridian points on the body, and you use it with an affirmation. And so we are going to go over in detail on, recognizing when the body has sparked an energetic movement. And this energetic movement can be felt on the level of mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. And sometimes when we have that movement within the body, we can feel it on all 4 levels of being. So when I was going through the process of my own healing crisis, it's my own healing crisis, and discovering these different tools and what exactly is energy. And from our perspective here, energy is not the woo-woo, what everybody says, oh, it's all woo-woo and everything. Nature shows us what it is, and we look to nature and how the movement of energy and how we can live in tune with the movement of it rather than resist it and work against it. And so we use EFT or tapping as a wonderful tool for that. So if you've been looking for, that inner balance, your energy is off, you're just not feeling good, you get caught up in emotions, you get caught up in the busyness and static noise of your mental activities, and you're looking for something to, first of all, acknowledge it, because what we don't want to do here is suppress. And I do want to specifically talk to that, whether or not, we're suppressing or we're acknowledging what actually is happening. And so a lot of us are here. Many of us right in this group here that are watching live, because I know several of you are already energy workers. And, we speak in terms of energy blocks and what energy is. And so with this 3-day, I'm going to ask you to take a look at energy a little bit differently and become aware of how our words affect the energy, because our attention and the words we choose pretty much program the energy in what direction to go. So we are in a lot more control than we think we are. So when we talk about energy blocks, this can focus all of our attention on the energy block and just looking at the block and not really seeing the block for what it is. And now we see this big giant block. Well, there's a block there. There's nothing we can do about it, right? But if we look at it as an energetic pattern, then we start to see the patterns that created this block. So we're looking to the source as opposed to the symptom. And this is where real, true healing comes into play when we're using techniques such as EFT or tapping. So once we recognize, oh, wow, I'm feeling this emotion, I'm going to look at the pain scale, and I'll show you the pain scale so that you can quantify your journey. It's very important to quantify your journey because we're looking to cycles. We're looking at cycles and patterns within. Once we recognize these cycles and patterns, then we can disrupt them and create new patterns. And these new patterns serve us as opposed to these old patterns that no longer serve us, yet keep us in a spinning loop. Sometimes it feels like your wheels are spinning, right? So I'm just going to check in with the comments, see how everybody's doing. Hey, welcome, welcome. How is everybody doing? So that was a really quick intro of who I am. And I work with clients and other beings on one-on-one situations and also small group situations. And when we look at using tools such as EFT to help us see the movement of the energy from the stillness of our being. I'm going to say that again because this is a pretty unique perspective. I show people how to look at the movement of the energy, all of the movement, and exactly what is this movement from the stillness or the space of your beingness. And so just a little bit of background on that, especially if you're new to our group. We here teach that nature shows us that two things are required in order to create a whole. Something that is in movement and something that is the stillness or holds the space for that movement to occur. And so we can look all over nature for examples of this. And we come from the perspective that we as human beings are no different than nature. So nature shows us like a hurricane or a typhoon, depending on where you are in the world, right? So a hurricane or a typhoon has two parts. It has the eye, which is nothing. However, the eye is where the system gets its energy from. And then you have the outside moving bands of the system. So there's two parts which create a whole. There's nothing or stillness, then constant movement and change. Other examples that we can see in physics, and that of a scale. We have the moving scales. These are in constant movement, never the same, always changing. And then you have the fulcrum that holds the space for the movement to occur. Without the fulcrum, the scales would be on the ground. They wouldn't be able to have this movement or have this experience. So as human beings, we are no different. The human part of us is the movement, the energetic change, the outside bands of the hurricane, never the same, always in change, constant movement. And we know this part of us oh so well. We know this moving aspect of ourselves. However, the being part of us is the larger part of us. And this is where I want to guide you to. And this is where you're going to find your natural state of being. So when we look at everything as energetic movement from the stillness of our being, this is where some miraculous and transformational healings happen on all levels of being. And that includes our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual states of being. So when we understand that we too, as human beings, have two parts which create a whole, I'm going to invite you out of the constant moving perspective and perceiving from the moving aspect of you, the human part of you, your body, your ideas, your experiences, your beliefs, everything about you that is in movement. And I'm going to ask you to take a look at it to look at the movement from the stillness of your being. And this is the larger part of you. And EFT does this so beautifully, because I'm going to show you another slide here. What we're doing is we are definitely acknowledging what is going on within us. You know, a lot of times we go through life and stuff comes up and we suppress it. And we suppress it by not dealing with it, not looking at it, not doing anything about it. And yet it's still there, kind of like running in the background, like a program running in the background of your everyday living. It's constantly there. What EFT does is it takes a direct look at it. You're looking at it and you're acknowledging it. So the difference between suppressing it, not looking at it, being afraid of it coming up, and it's still being there, affecting our everyday life on all levels of being, or using a tool to take a look at it, take a look at the movement of it, acknowledge the movement of it on the pain scale so that we can quantify this experience. And so a lot of times when you begin this process of recognizing your own energetic patterns, and these patterns could be thought patterns, memory patterns, everyday patterns that we might not even be aware that we do, such as eating patterns, self-talk patterns, your inner dialogue patterns, all of those things affect the energy within our being. And so sometimes these releases might come across as yawning. Maybe you might get the chills. You might get like a jerking sensation. Some people laugh hysterically. They may cry or tear up. The nose may begin to run. You may get some burping or, you know, bodily functions. All of those things are normal energetic releases, because once the energy goes through the body and then is released, it's going to be let go. And so we allow this process with EFT, allow the body to go through this process. And we are the witness of it, and we observe it rather than identify as it. All right, so let's see where we are. Hey, welcome, welcome. So I want to ask all of those who are watching, are you familiar with EFT? Just say, yes, I'm familiar with EFT, or no, I have no idea about EFT. And I'm going to do a really quick demonstration of EFT. Let's say you're going throughout your day. I actually did this with a client yesterday. This client works in corporate America, and basically he doesn't like the idea of being married to the corporation, and he wants his own time. And so I had him come to a space where, even though I feel like I have no time in my life, and had him start tapping on this, even though this is what I feel like, I have no time, I'm frustrated, I don't have anything for myself. You recognize that this is happening first in the body. And then on a scale of 1 to 10, how is this affecting you on the level of your mental health, your physical health, all of the levels of your well-being? And he said, on the level of my mental health, it's probably around a 9 or a 10, because the noise in my head just doesn't stop about it. So we began practicing or tapping on the sternum. And this is the base point that I teach people about, is just the sternum. This is the center where all of the meridians kind of just go right through. So we start right here. And when I work one-on-one, because this is a very surface oriented 3-day, when I go one-on-one or on smaller groups, we do a lot of the points. And especially if you've studied EFT and you practiced EFT, or maybe even taught others EFT, you know all of the points I'm talking about. There's several of the meridian points that directly affect the emotions of the body. So you definitely go through each of those. But for this 3-day journey, we're just going to do the master point, and that's right here. Another master point, you can alternate it, is just the crown, the top of the head. This is another master point that you can do. So we're going to focus in on these 2 points on the body. So as this gentleman was realizing that he had no time for himself, and he was getting worked up and even angry about it and resentful of his job and even wanting to quit his job. He was on the pain scale like a 9 or 10. I mean, it was really getting him worked up about it. This is the first thing we have to do compared to suppressing our emotions or really looking at them for face value for what they are. So he started to really take a look and realize, wow, this is affecting me on such levels that I feel like it's out of control. It's a 9 or 10. There's nothing I can do about it. It's affecting me on all levels of my being. Once he recognized that, yes, I am frustrated, I am angry, I'm starting to want to quit my job, I have no time for myself, we began tapping on this. And we state our affirmation in such a way, and it's so beautiful with EFT, that we recognize the movement of whatever it is, just what is, without judgment, without guilt, without shame. Just recognize, yes, this is happening. And you don't even need validation. You don't need to ask somebody, do you think I'm angry enough? No, you're angry. You're validating the fact that you're angry and frustrated. You are taking a look at it head on. And this is the beauty of EFT, is you're looking at the movement of it. A lot of times we get caught up in the movement of our everyday human beingness, right? And so we're all caught up in that movement, and we don't see any way to just take a breath. So we began tapping together. And the beautiful thing about using EFT in a group setting, when one person is working on something, all of the people within the group heal on that level, and it's so beautiful when it happens. So we began, just this example, we began working, even though I feel like I have absolutely no time to myself, even though I'm getting frustrated, even though I need more help at work and it seems like nobody's listening, we're recognizing all of the things that are happening inside. So you're looking at it full on and acknowledging, even though, yes, all of these things are happening, I choose. This is important. This second part is important because we have two aspects or two possible locations within that we can perceive from. We can perceive from our human, the moving, changing, a lot of times judgments, beliefs, opinions, ideas. We can perceive from that part of us. But I'm guiding you to perceive from the stillness, the space of your beingness. There's no judgments here. There's no shaming here. There's no guilting here. There just is. And to explain the difference between the human and the being, let's look at the sky. The sky can be equated to our being. It's the space. And then our human is like the clouds. Then we run into other clouds and we say, oh, I don't like you, cloud. I'm going to leave you. I don't like you. But you, cloud, I like you. But the sky doesn't judge the clouds, right? The sky doesn't judge it if there's hurricanes or thunderstorms going on. The sky doesn't judge it if there's beautiful sunshine going on. It just holds the space for the clouds. And the clouds are constantly changing, constantly moving, coming and going, appearing and disappearing, all of this movement and changing. So I'm going to invite you to come into the space of your beingness that just holds the space for your human to have the experiences. This is the space where I want you to tap to. So even though these things in this movement is happening, I might be labeling it anger, frustration, negative energy patterns, whatever it is you're labeling it as, look at it from the stillness of your being and then take your attention away from it and just sit in stillness. Just sit in stillness and then reevaluate. What happened after a couple of rounds? We call them rounds. He started with frustration. Other things came up, like not having control, not having choices. He felt like he wasn't getting these things. He felt like he was selling out for the money because, when you work in corporate, they pay you a lot. So you feel like you have to give your life over for a lot. So he had some money mindset issues as well. So things started to come up layer by layer. And as we tapped on each one of those, you can viscerally see his body begin to relax, his face begin to relax, and his well-being start to come back, and some inner space start to come back. So he found this place where he can just sit and not be all caught up in the movement of his thoughts and his frustration and with what is. So when we acknowledge what is, we acknowledge it. Yes, this is happening. What we have a tendency to do is we have a tendency to woulda, shoulda, coulda. It should be this, it could have been this, it should have been this, instead of looking at what is. And EFT is a wonderful tool to help us look at directly what is. All right, so let me just take a look at my notes here to make sure I covered everything, because, a lot of us here, we might be coming from the background of, having an understanding of what energy is and looking for balance and, understanding spiritual healing, and you're wanting that alignment with body, breath, and spirit. And you may even already know techniques such as Reiki, or maybe even practice meditation and yoga, but yet there's still something there that seems to be missing. And especially when you look what's going on in our external experience in our outside world, it could be scary to really take a look inside. But if you look and really see and really listen to people, what's going on in our external world is only a mirror of what is going on in each one of us in our internal world. So when we use techniques such as EFT or tapping, we begin to break apart and release those hidden or suppressed energies that can be released and freed up for you to have more internal space and internal energy. Because remember, as human beings, not so much unlike a hurricane, our being is where this human gets the energy from. And if my energy is going out to all kinds of different things, I'm going to be spread so thin and exhausted and tired. And so EFT is going to help you draw your energy back to the stillness of your being so that you can create this inner space, so that you can move from this internal space and heal. All right, so this is the foundation of our journey, day 1. And I do have homework for you. Absolutely, I have homework for you, because this is the internal work, and we want to make sure that we are doing this internal work. First, I wanted to show you the pain scale real quick. Here is the pain scale so that you can quantify your journey as you begin to really acknowledge what is happening energetically on the inside. You're feeling tightness or resistance, and you might be labeling it as anger or pain or disconnect or whatever words you're using. Quantify your journey. Look at the pain scale and say, oh my gosh, in this area of my life, I think I'm a 7 or 8. And then go through the process and identify and acknowledge what it is that you're feeling. Because we are acknowledging this energy and movement. If we don't acknowledge it and instead suppress it, it's going to keep surfacing in our experience, whether it's internal surfacing or external surfacing. It can surface in your experience as body pain, mental anguish, disconnect, depression. So take a look at really what's happening with energy and movement, and then acknowledge it. And then begin to really allow this energy to move freely through your body. So the steps for doing this: first, acknowledge what's happening. Acknowledge that there is energy and movement. Acknowledge it. You don't even have to name it. That's the beautiful thing about EFT. All you have to do is just internally take a look. Oh, there's movement there. I don't know what to call it. I don't know if I should call it fear, excitement, shame. I don't know what to call it. It doesn't matter. You don't have to call it anything. You can acknowledge, even though I'm experiencing this feeling and I don't know what to call it, and it might be on the pain scale of 7 or 8, this tapping and affirmation and affirming what it is you're feeling begins the process of this energy to move through the body and then finally release itself. So you're uncovering what's going on and you're identifying these things and releasing them while observing it from your space of stillness and knowing that this movement and energy is not who you really are. It's not you. It's just movement and energy because you can observe it from the space of your stillness. And then you reevaluate the pain scale. So as I was going through with my client just yesterday, coming in on a pain scale of 9 or 10 and really hurting on so many levels of being, he left with it being a 2. Going from a 9 or 10 to a 2 is huge. This is huge. This is self-healing. This is self-care. And this is understanding how energy works as it moves through your body, having complete understanding and witnessing it and how healing that is. All right, so I just want to go over my notes. Hey, thank you for the hearts. That is so awesome. So awesome. There is all kinds of research out there on EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. One of the big websites is emofree.com, but I teach emotional freedom just slightly different from the movement of energy and the stillness of the being. So I take it with that perspective, but there's all kinds of wonderful information. And there's wonderful research out there as well on emotional freedom. And I highly recommend you doing your own research on yourself and doing that with quantifying your experience by using the pain scale along with your journey. Very nice. Awesome, awesome. So we covered about what energy is and energy blocks versus energy patterns and where you are right now. So let's talk about your homework. Yes, we do have homework because this is an internal journey and this is where you have to do the work, and here's your homework. So what I would love you to do is sit down and look at the pain scale. Where are you in your life right now? Just right now, on the level of your mental well-being, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. Really take a look. Say on the mental well-being, you might be on the pain scale of a 5 or 6. On an emotional well-being, you might be on a pain scale of maybe a 6 or 7. On a physical, you might be dealing with pain. You might be a 7 or 8. On a spiritual, you might be pretty good spiritual, or you might really be seeking. Be honest with yourself. Nobody's going to see these numbers except for you. What's most important is that you recognize you are acknowledging where you are right now, not suppressing. We are acknowledging full frontal, face on, head on. Now what I'd like you to do, this is the second part. The first part is to identify where you are right now. The second part, I would love for you to write an affirmation for each area of your life. So let's say you're at a pain scale of a 7 with your mental well-being. You can write an affirmation on, even though I'm at a pain scale of a 7 in my mental well-being, and sometimes my thoughts don't shut up, and sometimes I get caught up in my thoughts and I allow my thoughts to affect my emotion, whatever that is, I choose, and then write it in what you choose to do. The important thing about creating your affirmation is that it must be believable. You must feel it as believable. And there's a lot of people who teach EFT that phrase their affirmations along the lines of, even though I'm feeling this pain, I choose to love and accept myself. I work with many people one-on-one who are not in that place of loving and accepting themselves, and that just does not feel real to them. So what I'm going to ask you to do is come up with a with the second part of your affirmation that you truly love and believe. So it could be something along the lines of, I choose to love and accept myself. If that's where you are and you truly believe it, then yes, absolutely do that. But choose something that you believe, such as, I choose to stay in the stillness of my being, or I choose to withdraw all of my energy from that situation and stay calm, or I choose to stay in the calmness of my being. Whatever that is that I choose, it is the nothingness that you are in. You are looking at the movement of it from the stillness of your being. So I would love for you to share whatever you feel comfortable sharing, and use the hashtag in the group, Journey Sharing, and the group is a closed group, so nobody can see your post unless they are a member of the group. And I am going to ask members of the group to be sure to create this as a space so that people can freely share, and share where you are on your journey right now, and share what affirmations you've come up with, and maybe go through a couple of the cycles. Even though I'm feeling this, I choose this, and then reevaluate. And we're going to do that at the end on day 3. We're going to go ahead and reevaluate. For now, just focus in on where you are, because remember, this work is about aligning body, breath, and spirit with where you are right now. All right, so let me just check my notes, make sure we are good, see how everybody is doing. Oh, yes. So I'm going to go back to the affirmation and creating your affirmation really, really quick here, because I wanted to make sure that we're very clear on this. You're acknowledging what is. You're not trying to change what is. Remember, you're not trying to change it. You don't want to change it. It's there for a reason. It's got to go through its process. You're allowing it to go through its process by choosing to stay calm, to love and accept yourself, to stay in the stillness of your being. Okay? Very, very nice. All right. So coming back now to, yay! How's everybody doing? This has been such a wonderful, wonderful thing. I want to thank the group for allowing me to, ask what it is that you would like. We want to go through tomorrow. Now, tomorrow I would love for you to participate and bring with you. And I know there are several in the group who have been working on, how do I identify the doer? How do I quiet my mind? How do I do this? And we have many in the group who are, asking these questions. So bring these questions with you tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to fine tune our practice to make it so that you can instantly just begin tapping very discreetly on a place on the body. And nobody really has to know what it is you're doing. And you can go through the affirmations within your own being. Nobody has to know. Right in a board meeting, if you need to. You can be doing those affirmations right where whatever is happening in your hurricane, on the outside bands of your hurricane. This can help bring you to the center of your beingness. Okay, so we're going to go through details tomorrow on how to do that and really become familiar with creating your affirmation instantaneously. Okay, so how are we doing? Very nice. Oh, thank you so much. You guys are so awesome. I see there's all kinds of problems. Bobby says a tiny bit, knowing about EFT. Fantastic. Love it. Love it. Sorry, I'm just now getting some of the comments, but I'll definitely read over those comments and any questions that we might have for tomorrow. So tomorrow is day 2. Tomorrow we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. We will review. We'll definitely do a quick review. And then tomorrow we're going to get into some nitty-gritty work. And please come if you are willing to do this work, because the rewards are phenomenal. Understanding and being connected to this space is transformational and life-changing. And this is such a wonderful time to be doing this inner work. And because when we, amongst all the chaos that is around us, when we find this space, only magnificent changes are to come. So with that said, wonderful beings, I want to wish you all a day full of blessings, and I will see you tomorrow. Mwah.